All right. Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Randy Kaye, and I'm the host of the Caught Up podcast. Today we have Breanna Macha Peterson. She played collegiately here at Arizona State University and was a four-time 6A state champion pitcher out of Red Mountain High School, where she is now an assistant under Coach Rich Hamilton. She is the mother of two, daughter Josie and son Daxton, and is currently the strength and conditioning coach at Red Mountain. Bree, thanks for taking the time to catch up. How is everything?
Thanks for having me, Randy. I mean, it's been a while and it's good. So thanks again for having me on.
Yeah, sounds like you had a little bit of a hectic morning. DJ doing good? He's home?
He's good. He got home. I mean, we started at 10 and he pulled in the driveway at 10 and I was like, "Take the kids."
That's so funny.
So it was
That's
good.
so funny. Is he I know you said that he was he was an agent now, is that right?
Yeah, so
And
he is an agent with Milk and Honey Sports and Entertainment. So he's
very cool.
enjoying that and yeah.
Very cool. So he's just getting home from spring training?
Yeah, he's just been phone calls here, there, and that's the job. It's busy season right now, and he was in Florida. He's back home, and yeah, he's definitely gonna have to hit up some spring training games because season's right around the corner.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. How's the rest of the family?
And we're good, yeah. So Daxton, 6 months old. Josie's
I
2 years
saw that.
old,
I
and
saw that.
it's hectic, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
You know what? If I'm the kind of person too that, like, if you think, well, I'd rather have some downtime or nothing going on, or it'd be nice to not have anything. Like, I think we all just enjoy that chaos. Like, I know I
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I think just keeps us all on our toes, and you can handle it. You're doing a good job.
Thank you,
You're doing a great
appreciate
job.
it.
Dad's good. Bill's good.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
He hangs out with the kiddos almost every day of the week
Oh my
because
gosh,
full time working, DJ's working, so he's loving grandpa time and they're gardening and he's keeping them busy. So
that's
it's good.
awesome. That's awesome. No, I'm sure he's in a happy place right now with that. And I know I remember it's so funny because I remember when I think about your dad, the one of the first things I think of is never missed a day of work.
Oh,
I mean, he was so, like, right? He
that's
was so
sweet.
proud of that. Every time I talked to him, or every time we talked about something like that, it was like never missed a day of work. Like, nope,
Hmm.
never missed a day. I have all my vacations. So I'm
His
sure
sick
he's
time.
yeah, he's earned that. He's earned that time
Yeah.
to do grandpa stuff. That's awesome.
Thanks,
Um,
Randy. I gotta tell him you said
please
that.
tell him I said hello. Let's talk about your journey. Like, when it comes to softball, when it comes to the game, how did you get started as a player growing up?
So I get asked this question a lot because it's just you're small. How did you get into the sport? So I actually started out with softball and gymnastics, and I remember my parents telling me, "Hey, you got to pick one."
Yeah,
So I remember, just going out to softball practice, and I actually was a catcher to begin with. I don't know if you knew that, but
I did not know that.
yeah, so I was catching out of practice, and then the next day we had a game, and our pitcher couldn't throw strikes. So they were like, "Bree, like, can you just go try?" And I guess my dad said I was throwing strikes from the get go, so I just kind of stuck with it, and I was like, "Okay, like I'm good at this. I'll stick with this." Gymnastics wasn't so good with my rhythm, so I
Gotcha.
just decided to stay with softball.
How old were you when you were a catcher?
I was about 7, and then I remember just sticking with softball, 8 years old, then on.
As a pitcher. So you did
Yep.
gymnastics, softball, and then at
Hmm.
like 7, at that around that time, you just said, "Hey, look, I'm just going to focus on one."
Yeah, so
I'm
I did a little bit of like junior high stuff just to like have fun, but just definitely was sport specific.
Yeah, yeah. I think everybody nowadays, you have to kind of narrow it down and focus on one thing. Unfortunately, I think to some degree it's not as good for us. I mean, I get asked a lot by college coaches, like, "You still let your kids play outside sports?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course we do, but
Right.
as long as what we're doing is coming first, I guess. in our teams or our events are priority. But
For
so
sure.
do you at a young age like that? Once you went out and started throwing strikes, I mean, was that just something that you were like, I like it, or you just liked it because you were good at it, or what was it?
I mean, I definitely loved it because I was in control. I was on the mound. I was able to, every pitch, I was involved.
Yeah,
So I think that as a young age, like I was like, oh, I want to pitch because I want to be involved at all times. So I think that was the big part. And then just having the support of, I would have a, a batting cage in my backyard. My dad built one growing up. So I could
yeah,
go out and go throw batting practice. And I think that was a huge part too. It's just like it was constantly like I was able to work on it. I was always able to like go and do it. So
yeah,
I think that was a big part.
yeah. So you were in control. So you were kind of like in the spotlight, right? I mean, as a catcher, you're in that play
Yeah.
every pitch, but you got a mask on, like you're not like is as the pitcher, you're the queen, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like you recognize that early. And when it comes to hitting, like I also you remember you being a very good hitter, and was that something that um you kind of attribute to being able to have a cage in your backyard, or was there? I mean, obviously there's some natural ability, but like how much did you enjoy that part of it too?
I mean, I definitely liked it in high school and in club ball, of course. You'd be on the mound and say your team wasn't hitting, and then it's on you. You're like, okay, well, I want to go and score a run. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah,
you always felt like you had the opportunity to like help your team out, and it wasn't just you doing it on the side of pitching. So I felt like in high school and club that was really important. It's like I still want to help contribute,
yeah,
and then obviously in college, it's like if you're not 1 through 5, you should just focus your time on pitching.
right, right.
So I think
Did
that's a
you Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, yeah, no, it's true. Like, a lot of times, as a pitcher, I mean, it's sad to say, but you don't always get the run support that you hope for. So sometimes, as a coach, you're just like, here, take the bat, and you go try to help yourself, right?
Yeah.
So that's cool. When you were younger, were you one of those kids that played outside a lot with your friends? Like,
Okay, and that's so funny you say that because as a strength coach now, I always say like jump roping is a lost art.
mm,
Like it's so funny to see how many like kids in the weight room like just don't know how to jump rope these days. So yeah, I just think playing outside and getting dirty and doing hopscotch, jump rope,
right, right.
like you are more athletic and more, balanced. And it's just funny to see like the kids that probably did that growing up and the ones that like it's a lost art.
It certainly is. I mean, getting, yelled at to come inside and eat when the lights go on, I don't think happens much. I think it's more of a text, but I have some other coaches that we chat about this stuff too, and we talk about like climbing a tree and being able to use your core, like you said, is a lost art. I mean, a lot of people don't know what it's like to do those things and how to use those muscles. And obviously, as you get older and as a pitcher, I think it's super important that you understand how to create that leverage with your core, being able to use the
Mhm.
ground properly. So that's interesting. I love hearing that. I love hearing that. By the way,
It's a really good
um,
outlook that you have on it too.
what's that?
That's a really good outlook that you have on it. I
Oh,
mean,
thanks, thanks.
yeah.
Yeah, we talk about you'd be amazed at how many hours I spend talking about, and not even just on this, but how many hours I spend talking about hitting and pitching. And I wouldn't claim to by any means to be a pitching coach, but I do see things way differently than I did. And from a hitting standpoint, I'm really like I spent a lot of time. So
That's why you're good at
um,
what you do.
well, thank you. Um, did you when you were young and still like just transitioning to, as a pitcher from a catcher at 7 or 8? Did you do the girly stuff? Did you play with dolls? Did you like or were you more focused on the sports side?
Definitely on the sports side. Um, I was still worried about.
Gymnastics is feminine. There's female stuff there, right?
I always say though, like regardless boy or girl, like now that I have kids, I have one of each. Like they're both gonna go and do gymnastics because it teach you coordination and balance and grip strength, and so I think like that's a good thing that my parents put me in. That's probably the only
Yeah.
girly thing though, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean, it obviously paid off, and that seems to be something that I think a lot of people look at. Like, I mean, and you look at like baseball players and football players, they all do like yoga and
yeah,
Pilates and things like that. So
hmm,
it's kind of that same like learning how to use your body and things like that. Okay.
for sure.
Um, so at 7 or 8, you knew you wanted to be a pitcher. Um, what about the fielding part of it? I remember you as a fielder. You were a good fielder. I mean, you were I
Well,
mean, I don't know about the younger ages, but obviously, you had a lot of athletic ability. You could field your position well. Did you practice the defensive side of the game, at a younger age,
I would
or
probably
how
say
did
that
that
was
develop?
the hardest position, like hardest side of the game. Was definitely defense because I just remember like being young and like trying, like everyone wanted to be a shortstop, you know. So you throw you out there, and I'm like getting ground balls to the shins, and I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
definitely had to work on my defense. But yeah, I mean, growing up, you know, you just it's reps, it's practice, it's if you have a part of your game you have to get better at, you go to work, you go to town on it, and I think that that was really instilled in me. So probably why when I met you, I was a little bit better at ground balls.
Yeah, no, you were good. I remember you being able to field your position, and the one thing that I know that you did really well, um, is you were able to like, your overhand throw was really good. Like, you see pitchers nowadays that
Mm-hmm.
don't understand how to get their feet underneath them and create direction with a throw,
Mm.
and so, like, I remember that stands out to me, and you know what's funny is, and this is gonna sound bad, but I remember one time we made a play because we would have people at second base that would try to call location early, and I
Mm.
remember we would have the catcher throw the ball back to you, and then Danny would get to the bag, and you would throw the ball as hard as you could directly at the player, and Danny would just catch it like 2 inches from the kid's back.
That
Do you
is
remember that?
awesome. I do. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
But
I'm
that
like, you're
was
bringing back memories.
yeah, but that was like, that was the, the control you had of your throw and the accuracy. So yeah. So who during that time when you were, still in that younger ages, we're talking, still, 8, 9, 10 years old, who did you look up to? Like who did you watch? Because we don't have YouTube, or we didn't have YouTube back then where kids can go watch anybody. Did you look up to anybody? And if so, how did you watch them?
That is hard. I remember like being a Batgirl at ASU.
Mm.
So when I think I was 11, 11 or
Uh-huh.
12, that is where I really was like, whoa, I'm engulfed in it, you know? Like, so I'm here, I'm running to get the bats, I'm listening to the talking between the girls. I remember that's like a core memory of my childhood was being the Batgirl at ASU. So,
Ah.
um, I think that is where, you know, a lot of like I was watching that I think it was the 11, no, it had to be the '08 team maybe. I think it
Mhm.
was the '08 team and then they went to win the national championship that year. It had to have
Mhm.
been the '08 team. Yeah.
Nice. So you were a Batgirl there. How'd that get hooked up? Do you remember?
I
Your
actually
dad just
don't.
set it
I
up?
remember playing for do you remember the Thunderhawks?
I do.
Yep. So
I
I was on
do.
the Thunderhawks and
Yeah.
it had to have been just mm, word of mouth, I would say.
I can't remember that
Yeah.
guy, but he used to wear Levi's and a jacket. If I remember, if it's the same guy, but like those old school, like,
Yep.
can't even describe it, but it's like a windbreaker jacket.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Oh my
remember. That's
gosh.
me now.
That's
Um,
me now.
did you watch baseball growing up? Was your dad a baseball fan, or?
Yeah, we'd go to baseball games, you know, just at the library, you know how you would do like the reading for a ticket, you'd have to like read 20 books in the summer and you'd get free tickets to the Chase game or the
Oh yeah, yeah.
so Binkwell Ballpark is what it was. So
Mhm.
I remember that was like a huge thing. We would read books all summer to get free tickets to the baseball game, and so yeah, just anything to go watch some games.
That's awesome.
I don't know
That's
if you remember
awesome.
that, but yeah, Binkwell
I
Ballpark,
do.
and yeah.
I remember when they were building that place.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I took my kids to, the science museum,
Fun.
and the construction was going on all around that area
Mm-hmm.
at that same time. So yeah, I remember.
Crazy how much it's built.
Yeah, it's certainly changed a bunch. Um, so let's talk about the competitive side of travel ball. Now you're in that 13, 14-year old age group. Um, who got you over to that side? I mean, obviously you said you were with Thunderhawk, so that was already club ball. Do you remember who got you into that from, because everybody starts at like a rec division or a rec
Yeah.
league. Do you remember who got you over or how that
So
happened?
we were Red Mountain Little League, and we just had a really good, solid group of girls. You know, Jordan Beck, Marion Ruff. Like we had a lot of
Mm,
girls growing up that were really good at the high school, and we
yeah.
all just decided to like go and do our own club team. And I think
Mhm.
that's where Thunderhawks came in, and
Okay.
then Thunderhawks, became Stealth, and Stealth became Firecrackers, and so
Mhm.
it's yeah.
Wow. Was Phil Thunderhawks?
No, he
Okay.
was not. Yeah,
Okay.
I know.
Cool.
It's a throwback
Right,
name.
right. It'd be crazy if he sees this.
I
Um,
know.
so I mean, while we're talking about um, the travel ball years and like this 14-year group, um, do you remember like that first club tryout where like there was a lot of hype? You had already moved over, and you and your Red Mountain Little League teammates
Mhm,
decided to form a club team. But then there's a transition where it's like everybody starts to try to put the better players that you can, the players that are like-minded and,
mhm,
both work ethic and talent.
for sure.
Do you remember that first tryout or that first summer where we were heading into like August and things started to materialize like that? Do you remember that?
Mhm. I would probably say it was that Stealth. It was like the 13, 14, like you said. That was a
Yep.
huge time. Um, we had about three really good pitchers on our team. Danielle Parlick, Dallas McBride.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
so yeah, we had lots of good talent, and it was, I would say, like just everybody in the city was kind of was trying to try out, or it was just word of mouth, and it's just those were high stressful situations. But it's like if you want to be on the best team, you gotta go and put your best foot forward, even at the tryouts and the practices. And
Right. Do you remember who put that together?
I don't. Oh my gosh, I wish
I
I
mean,
remembered.
if I had to guess, it was obviously because your dad was always just, you know, your dad was always like, um, you know, I think obviously he knew you were good, but he never like would, in my opinion, try to put that together. It would be more like somebody else, and then he would decide if that was the best situation for you, or you guys would decide as a group. But
Yeah,
I would have to think it was probably like McBride and Parlick, and
it
because
probably.
remember Parlick was coming back after having Sam, right? So
Hmm.
he had Sam going.
I think that's what it was.
I bet, right? Um,
Same thing with like you were saying, like my dad wouldn't put that together. Like think about the Birmingham Thunderbolts. I remember
mm,
that he's like, "You're loyal. You're staying with your team.
oh
Like you're
gosh,
not you're not going out of state." So
yeah, yeah.
that
He,
definitely good life lessons he instilled.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what, like, and this is one of the reasons I called you early on, and I'm really happy that you're on, is because obviously this has grown from where we met, and
Right.
just to backtrack really quick, the stealth tryout
Yeah.
is where we met you, where we brought Taylor to that,
Hmm.
and one of the things that stuck out to me is obviously I knew of a lot of those kids because I was a parent back then, and when I brought Taylor out you and Dallas came over, like, you guys were so like, you were so welcoming as a young lady and as somebody who everybody knew was a good pitcher, but you were so welcoming, but so now you fast track, we meet you, and then a lot of things happen and, over the that course of that year and a half, but, the reason that I wanted to get you on is because I would probably say that you have so much to do with me actually being here
Aw.
right now doing this because of what you just said is you had opportunities to do a lot of other things. You could have gone anywhere in the country And I was fortunate that, we did have some really good players that I think you wanted to still connect with. Because I really don't, I mean, to be honest, I don't think it had a lot to do with me, but more of like, it was wanted to be here and wanted to be
Mm-hmm.
with some of these kids. And there were some good components, but like, you're a huge part. Like, I don't think people, I've
Thank
said it. I
you.
mean, every time I see you, um, I think of those days and I think of 99. Like
Oh,
the number 99 is like it's anytime I see somebody in 99, I just think of you. So
oh, thanks,
I want to
Randy.
thank you for that. Like you're a huge part. I probably wouldn't be doing it still at this level. And again, like you helped build that. The Firecrackers went from one team to I think we had 23 at one point. And so, yeah, you should be proud of that because not everybody can do that. Not
Thanks,
everybody
Randy.
feels like they could stay and try to help build something. So, thank you for that. That's awesome. Do you remember all that whole time? I mean, that was pretty turbulent. There's a lot
Oh, I
going
know.
on.
We have a lot going
A
on.
lot going on.
Oh, that's why I'm like, it's lots of summer travel and this and but again, like you're thanking me, I want to thank you for what you did in my recruitment process too.
Oh
It was
gosh.
I remember you'd be at the on deck stuff and then you would be going and talking behind obviously for everybody, like you'd be going talking to parents all game, so or talking to the coaches. But it's crazy what you do and what you've done. And I mean, I remember looking at your the website like years later about like how many kids like you've sent to college, and it's just what you're doing for this community and for Arizona in general is incredible.
Well, thank you. And it's again, I'm a small piece of it. It takes a whole bunch of us to do it, and but I'm really proud of it. To be honest with you,
You should,
I wish I was a little bit better at promoting it, but it's just not me.
yeah,
My good friend Jeff Hinkle told me once that if you're good enough, others will say it for you.
I remember
You know what I'm
him. Oh my
saying? Jeff was a
gosh.
good guy. We'll get him back soon. I think he's got a young one coming up too. So,
Oh wow.
um, so let's talk about the recruiting piece. Obviously you said it. You did some on deck stuff, and I had Derek on. I don't know if you were able to catch that, but
Hmm.
my where I met Derek and where I remember was that Mount Sac on deck camp.
Yep.
I didn't really know what it was, and then you and Danny go there, and then like the world blew up. Like it was overnight. Like it was hot, and so what do you remember about that portion of recruiting? Like what stood out to you, or what stands out to you?
I mean, you said it like that camp. It was at Mount Sac. It's so funny. I'm like, those are again core memories that, like, I remember Amanda Lorenz was there. I remember Allie, was it Allie Waldrop, the LSU big drop ball pitcher. I'm like, I remember girls that like played later in college. So I'm just like, it's crazy. I met them at that camp, and
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, those camps, going to camps. I remember going to an Oregon camp. I remember going to the ASU camps. So I
Hmm.
just think getting in front of coaches was a big thing. Um, and then yeah, just those crazy summer tournaments.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. How much well back then you could verbal in 8th grade, and which is what you ended up doing to Arizona State. Um, Looking back on that, what was it like making that decision when you, like you said, you had visited schools and been to
mhm.
had a lot of interest?
I mean, it's hard. I mean, in eighth grade to really feel like you know where you want to go, what you want to do. I'm having conversations now with juniors that I'm like, I feel like I can give you a better like opportunity because it's like, do you want to play in cold weather? Do you want your parents to be able to come see you play and just just trying to guide them a little bit better because that was hard for me. It's like, yeah, I want my family to be at every game. So I'm going to choose U of A or ASU. So I think that was like the really big deciding factor was like, my mom was battling brain cancer and
Right.
just wanted my dad to be at every game. So 15 minutes down the road, and it was the best decision.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are you looking back on it, if the rule change was what it is now, September 1 of your junior year, do you think you would have made the same decision?
It's a great question. I mean, I feel like all circumstances, like, with my mom being sick, um, that, like, regardless, I was Sun Devil through and through. Growing up, Batgirl there, like that was
Yeah.
always home. I think it would have been really hard to uh, to ever leave that. So I don't think going back, I would have ever done it different.
Yeah, no regrets, huh?
Hmm.
Good. Um, and the decision to verbal early, was that something you felt, if you remember, did you felt like you had to make a decision? Were you getting pressured into doing that, as far as, or did you feel pressure? I shouldn't say were you getting pressure.
Yeah, I mean both. It's just it was the name of the game back then. They were like, you don't commit, we're gonna move on to the next one. I mean, that's wherever you went. Took my
Yeah.
first trip to U of A. I remember going up to Oregon, and then just my third pretty much trip was ASU, and then it's like, oh,
This is it.
this is it.
And that was Clint, right?
Yes, it was Clint and oh my gosh, Chuck Darcy. So
Chuck, that's
big,
right.
big part of it was committing was because of Chuck.
Yeah. And then Coach Myers goes to, because you were a 2014 grad,
Hmm.
and I always get that confused because Taylor's a 2015.
Hmm.
But and it takes me a second to remember that you were a year older. That whole group was
Yeah.
our first group, and then so he goes off to, I think in 2013, off to Auburn.
Hmm.
And was there ever a thought that maybe you would go with him?
And I got offered. He called and said, "Hey, I know the position you're in. Obviously, with my mom being sick, and so he knew, and we had long, good talks about it. But I thought about it, but it didn't feel right. So yeah, ASU was always home, and I think that's a good advice that I was given is you don't go to a program based on the coach, based on this and that. You want to go because it feels like home, because it's right, because they have your major, because a bunch of other
Right.
different factors. Because think about it, I had three different pitching coaches in my 4 years in college. So let me tell you, I didn't stay because of a coach. Yeah.
Yeah. No, good stuff. I mean, I think, yeah, that's one thing we tell everybody is, especially nowadays, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
coaches can, it's so volatile out there, and there's so many opportunities. The game has grown so much that you better
Hmm.
go someplace that you love being, a Sun Devil or a
Yeah.
Wildcat or whatever it may be. And, it better be a place that you're okay with playing for that program.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Um, I was gonna ask you something else about coach. You know what's funny is, when Coach Myers left, I don't know if you remember this, but we were at PGF and we had gotten knocked out, and we had me and Case, we used to have those meetings. I don't know if you remember, after PGF,
Hmm.
and we'd try to like make sure everybody was good to go, and we'd have those conversations one on one. And Chuck and Craig were standing behind our meeting the entire time.
Hmm.
They were just kind of off to the side waiting, because they can talk to you after that, after we lose. But yeah, I had kind of put it in Chuck's ear. I'm like, dude, because this is when I knew the Thunderbolts were after you, and I was like, Chuck, if you let her go play for the Thunderbolts, she's gonna be in Alabama every weekend, and I'm pretty sure the Myers are gonna be there. So you better make sure she stays home. But
That's
that's just
funny.
your loyalty kicked in again, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you had opportunity, and you just felt it was a better fit for you, and you felt like it was home. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. Um, let's talk about. Do you have any other memories from college? Like, do you have anything else that sticks out to you that, going in, you feel like, you know you wish you would have known, or were there highs and lows that you remember? I mean, you just mentioned four pitching coaches or three pitching coaches.
Right.
Is there anything else that sticks out?
I just think, just being persistent through that. It's being open minded to different coaching philosophies and, making your own personal philosophy, your 20 something at that time, and it's like, okay, I need to take ownership of my game now, and it's, you know, taking a little bit of advice from each of those pitching coaches and making it my own. So I think that was something I finally did, like senior year. Like it's so sad to
Mm-hmm.
think about. It's like your final season of playing, and it's like you just figure it out. So um, yeah, that was probably the most important part of my college career.
So did you learn a lot from each coach, or did you learn something from each coach that stands
Yeah,
out?
absolutely. I mean, you have the good and the bad.
Sure.
We can go into detail on some of those things, maybe off podcast. But
Right, right.
I mean, Coach Ford, I can just go on and on about the incredible, incredible things she did for me as a pitcher and just as a person. I mean, uh, I just wish I had, I guess, all 4 years under that lady. She's incredible.
She does a great job. I mean,
Yeah.
everything she does is she seems to do really well with her pitchers and her
Yes.
teams. Players seem to really love to play for her.
Oh, yeah.
Um, no hitting in college, obviously. Uh, how much how much did you work out in college? Was there anything specific that you did on your own, or was there a routine that you like to do when you were preparing during season?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a really good question, Randy. um, I mean, the one thing that I guess I really liked was we would always throw, live batting practice. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I have to go against the top five hitters in the country and my own team, like I mentally know that I'm prepared enough to go and throw against whoever. Like whoever's in
Yeah.
that box, I've already faced, five of the toughest in the country. I know I can get you out. So that was always, I think, a good thing that we did.
Is that something that most colleges that you've experienced, do their pitchers pitch to their batters?
Yeah, for the most part, that's like a
Yeah.
good, that's all you can really do in fall ball, and so other than some, junior college games, but I think it's really important that like you have that confidence against your own teammates to go and do that.
Yeah. Do you ever not enjoy pitching, or not enjoy competing against your own teammates because, you're just trying to not do you ever find yourself holding back to try not to hitting somebody or anything like that?
No.
I knew the answer to that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah,
I knew the answer.
absolutely not. I mean, you're making each other better. I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you see me 5 times, I'm still gonna get you out every 5 times. Like that's just the mentality that both sides have to have. So I think
Right.
it's good
I
learning
mean,
lessons.
you owe it to your teammate to go out and give your best,
Mm-hmm.
to make them better. So, yeah, it's so funny because, um, and even looking back on it, I think I even posted this one time that, your demeanor, you said it, you're not the biggest person, right? But your demeanor is so, inviting and so positive and happy, but you really are like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like you really are a I would say you're a killer. Like, and it's funny because when I think about that play we talked about earlier about, taking the ball and looking back to second and just burning one to somebody's back where like Danny just catches it. Um Not everybody does that. So, did you ever hit anybody on purpose in college?
My mentality was I never wanted to hit you because then I'm putting you on base. So if
Mm.
I don't like you, I'm going at you, I'm striking you out. That was always my mentality. So I can say I've never hit somebody on purpose.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I could say I've never well, I don't want to go there. I don't want
Yeah. You're like maybe off the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe once. Um, did you develop a pitch in college that or did you make anything better? You said Trisha was really good with you. Um, did is there a coach that helped you perfect a pitch or helped you understand what it was supposed to be or how it was
Yeah.
supposed to feel?
So I remember going in thinking I was a rise ball pitcher. And then, you like, I gave up 41 home runs my freshman year. So thinking about just
Wow.
it's a high fastball, and everyone talks about Rapsodo and the spin rates and this and that. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's it's when you don't have the spin, it really is just a high fastball. And if you
Right.
go into college thinking you can throw it by people, so I definitely learned a hard lesson with that. And I think I definitely was more of a down ball pitcher, and I should have just again been okay with it earlier in my career. Again, letting go ego, but so I definitely think obviously Trisha Ford helped. I would say not perfect it because it was never perfect, but like help master that, as well as Jill Compton. So I don't know if she even knows how much she made my career better. She was a grad assistant and just talking through things and just helping me feel things differently. So she was a pitcher at Fresno State, and she came over and helped out.
So was that adjustment? So are you saying you continued to throw the rise ball or you went away from it?
I did not throw a rise ball after freshman year. Yep.
Okay. So was that more of a mental decision or did they help you with a mental part of it or the feel like in perfecting and getting better?
I would say like perfecting the feel of it, because again, like just I guess noticing that I was not a rise ball pitcher. Again, you go into
Mm,
college thinking this is your pitch, this is what you do, and it's like
yeah.
it's
Was
not.
it was it that you just couldn't get the spin that you wanted?
Yeah, I mean, my I was so front side, like landing so heavy on my left leg front side. Like I just had natural down spin that I think I
Mhm.
was like trying to force my body, because I did throw hard, thinking
Yeah.
I could throw up and in on people, which I can locate up and in, but it wasn't riding like it should.
Right, didn't stay up.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, and you can do that, and you see this at every level, right? There's you can if you have control and a
Hmm.
changeup, which you did, you can get people off balance.
Yeah.
But as you found out, the better hitters, the hitters, the real hitters, as you get
Yes.
older, they can wait. They're gonna stay off of that pitch, or they're gonna get to it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And no, that's good stuff. I mean, I think we could like what do you think is the most important for a pitcher like it in high school or a higher level 14U kid that's trying to be ready to have an opportunity to play in college? What do you think like if you could go back yourself and go, I wish I would have known this. What would it be as far as being a pitcher?
Hmm.
Would it be like
That's what.
understanding what pitching is more or understanding what the ball's supposed to do
Okay, I
or
get so.
mental?
I guess more so like. I would say it was mentally like tough, but like in high school, in club ball, you had to really worry about 1 through 5. So like
Mhm.
I would just go at 1 through 5 really hard, and then like 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. So I think that was a really big learning lesson in college, was like, 1 through 9, like you truly cannot take one pitch off.
Yeah.
So I think if I would have known that earlier in the career, just, being more persistent every single pitch and just thinking pitch by pitch, I think I
Yeah.
really started to do that at the end of my career.
Staying competitive every
Hmm.
pitch. I love that. Let's talk about your high school career. Okay, and I said it in the opening, and I checked with Rich Hamilton just in a casual text a couple days ago.
Hmm.
I said, Rich, has anyone else ever, as a pitcher that you know, started and won 4 state championships? And he said, definitely not. He doesn't know for sure, but he definitely thinks no in 6A.
No 6A,
Do
but
you Has anybody else done it?
I think Erica Beach.
Did she do it?
I think she
Oh,
was in either 3A or 4A.
okay.
I think she has,
Nice. Nice. Hey,
but we
well,
fact checked it.
yeah, we might have to have somebody put some in the comments there and let us know if someone else has done it. But in any case, I got to see it and I got to be around it. Um, and of course, my own kid is in 6A at Mountain Ridge through those years. And obviously looking back, just the whole idea of doing it for 4 years like that is amazing. So, but and then when I kind of dissect it a little bit more and I look at it, do you remember the game where you guys were down to Mountain Ridge? We were beating you. I want to say it was by 2 runs
Okay.
going into the last inning, and Annette. I'm sitting up there at the top of the bleachers with Annette Nelson, and she looks at me and goes, "You guys are gonna make it." And I thought to myself, damn, like, why did you say anything? And you guys just came back to beat us. And I can't remember if it was the bottom of the inning where you guys were able to just score 3 and walk us off, or if it was you were down 2, scored 3, and then you came back and shut it down. But anyway, either case, like, do you remember that game?
It
Does
is
that game
so
stick out?
hard for me to remember some of these playoff games because Coach Hamilton and I like will reminisce on stuff, and I'm like, how do you remember that? Like, it's just funny because it's we. I do remember though we would always lose like our first round of playoffs or
I
whatever, and we'd
know.
have to work our way back up through the losers bracket. And it's just it was always called the Red Mountain Way. So,
The Red Mountain Way.
yep.
Who was there was a pitcher right before you.
Was it
Oh my
Mel?
Mel. What was her
Mm-hmm.
last name?
Gibbons, Gibson, Mel, or maybe that's
I
her
re-
married name now. I'm not sure.
I remember Mel. Yeah, that
Amelia,
sounds
yeah.
familiar. And I want to say I can't remember the game, but I do remember they lost early too, and had to come back through. So that's what you would say you remember most out of your high school career is losing the first playoff game.
We would always. I just remember like we were gritty. You know, we had a really good group. All 4 years, we had really good players on those teams. Alyssa
Yeah.
Fernandez. Like I could go on and on about who we had.
Mm,
So it's just
Fernie.
yeah. I'm like we still keep in touch. So I'm like it's just funny like how many good players we had on those teams that went on to play college ball, and it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So we were just I'd say a really good group of gritty kids that yeah we were down in the first, but we might be down, but we're not out. So
Yeah. No, that was a fun time. And I always tell everybody being, there's a difference between club, travel ball, and high school. Obviously, we all, everyone can say different things, but you know, we've been to the end of some of these tournaments in club ball, but I don't know if there's another excitement or if anything matches any of those big tournaments match the excitement that being in the state playoffs,
mm-hmm.
especially back then, because we would head over to Rose Mofford, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff was at Rose Mofford. So there's 6 fields. Everybody is there, whether you're playing or not. It was just something that, like, if you get to the end of a tournament in the summer, for the most part, everybody goes home after they lose,
Right.
and it's just your fans and their fans, or the
Mm-hmm.
or the fans that could actually go. But the high school playoffs are like everybody, like
Yeah.
all of your friends, your community, your school. So that's cool. I that's a positive. So that's a positive memory, I guess, right? Losing and
Mm-hmm.
then working through and kind of forging or developing that Red Mountain Way. Is there anything negative that you remember about high school?
Hmm.
Practicing every day? Was Coach Hamilton a hard coach to play for? I mean, obviously he does a
Um,
great job, but
yeah.
like, is
That's why
there anything
I
that
can't
you
really
didn't
remember
enjoy
anything negative. I just always remember like
or a low
yeah,
point?
the days were long, but just maybe thinking like it's both ways. Oh, I can't wait to get back to club ball. Oh, I can't wait to go to high school ball. Like it's that balance. Like
Right.
you get to play with different people. It's kind of a different break. It's you're playing for your community and your school, and
Yep.
it's a different sense of pride versus like okay, now I get to go play for my state. I get to go play. So I think that was like wouldn't be negative, but maybe just a different point of view. Like it's a hard give or take with them.
Yeah. It's always like end of January, people start to check out, or we think anyway as coaches, like,
Yeah.
well, they're starting to check out, they're ready for high school, and then you see everybody in the end of March in mid-April, and they're like, oh my God, we can't wait to get back.
Hmm.
Um, did you ever think that you would end up back at Red Mountain on the coaching staff?
I did not. To be honest, I did not.
How crazy is that?
It's totally full circle.
When when I mean nobody can say like I mean it's one point to say well I played and I know, but I played here and I
Mhm.
know and I did. Like and I know you better than that. It's not like you're out there, you know, puffing out your chest and saying do as I say, but like
Right.
I don't know, like what does that feel like?
Again, I mean, it's just that sense of pride. It's like, it's so cool to just see the changes that have even been made around the facility. Like, we're getting
Mhm.
bleachers this year and like stadium bleachers, and it's like, that would be so cool to have. And again, just, I mean, goosebumps every time. Coach Hamilton always says it. He's like, when we're playing and he says something, and it's like goosebumps. So it is
You've
cool.
heard
It's,
it.
again, lots of pride to be back there and to work with those kids.
How how much different is it to coach alongside coach Hamilton versus play for him?
I guess I would just say I just see a different perspective of the game, like maybe reasons why he does things that I didn't realize when I was playing. Like, we just talked about this. He is a big proponent for having two pitchers on a staff and, you know, trying to pitch, I would say, like couple innings. Like, so we have an ace right now, and it's just having a couple, somebody else, try to eat up a couple innings and this and that. And again, when I was playing, it was I wanted the ball at all times. But now as a coach, I see, we want you fresh for playoffs. We want you fresh and feeling good. So again, just trying to talk through some of those philosophy things that he has and trying to, yeah, trying to work with that.
So funny you say that. First off, let me ask you this: do you guys literally put a number on your pitchers? Like you said, you have an ace, and do you guys is that is that just known or is it like, hey, this is our one? Like,
So
do you put
I feel
numbers
like
on them?
it's just known, but I mean, I always say, like, I always give you obviously the opportunity. You gotta throw against our girls. You gotta throw against, in the tournament games and like our freedom games. So, and I would say data doesn't lie. So like it's really hard to argue numbers. If
Hmm.
you're giving up this many walks, this many runs, it's really hard to argue why you're not a number one for a reason, or why you're at this spot. But the other thing is you can't measure heart either. So
Right.
I think that's another big part of like when recruiting, like you look for these different things, but it's really hard to measure heart. So
Yep. And it's funny when you had said you always wanted the ball.
mhm.
Um, I remember that. Like I remember times where it was like, hey, we're gonna go to so and so, and it's not like you were selfish, but it was just
Hmm.
like you wanted the ball. Like
Yeah.
you knew what the games meant, or you that was just a competitive side of you, and but let me ask you this: do you know, being able to get the ball that much, and do you remember if you pitched all the playoff games for Red Mountain?
I remember there was a time, I think my junior year, I fractured my L5 in my back. Actually, I think it was my sophomore year. So I fractured my L5. So I don't think they threw me early in playoffs, but I was pitching on a broken back like
Oh wow,
later in the tournament. Yeah.
gotcha. Okay.
Yep. Because were you with us
Um.
when we went to, sorry, New York? Do you remember that trip? I don't
Oh
know. And
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and I was injured, and I remember after that trip, it was like I needed to take some time off because I had that stress fracture in my back.
Gosh, I do remember. You know, that was probably one of my favorite
It was a fun trip.
trips. And you know, they never did that again. They never hosted
That
a
was so
tournament in
fun.
New York City because I would have went because that was so much fun. I
Hmm.
actually found some pictures of that recently.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, those remember those like those remember those first uniforms we had? If just looking back on them, even the F was just like a regular F.
It was so funny.
Like, yeah, it brings back such memories, you know, Danae, and I still see
Hmm.
Danae King, or Miss King as the girls call her.
Miss King, I know she's teaching.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Um, so back to Red Mountain. How do you feel that you're able to impact the program now as a coach? What is your best? How are you contributing the best in your opinion?
I would say because I am still able to throw like live batting practice.
Oh
So
yeah.
I am constantly throwing to the girls. Even if it's like feel good reps, they're getting like at least some velocity. It's not just front toss all the time.
Yeah.
And I think like when we play Basha and we know Natalie Fritz is play, like
Mm-hmm.
I can try to mimic like what some of her strengths are, and we will, hound that outside pitch and throw a little bit of up. She's got a great changeup, like throw some change, So it's just trying to, I guess, mimic what those pitchers are doing early in the week. So when we face them, it's like our hitters have already seen it for 2 days.
Yeah. It's so huge to be able to have somebody on staff that can pitch live.
Yeah.
I'm really fortunate too. I have Taylor Nolan. I don't know if
Yes.
you remember Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
But she unfortunately we're both lefties, so it's not like we get like the righty lefty look and my ball doesn't move or do I can I do a full windmill. Um that's cool. I watched you the other day warming up your pitcher as we were leaving. And I man, like that strength and conditioning part, that side of you, that expert in you, you're obviously applying what you've learned there. I'm sure you picked some stuff up along the way, but like is that another aspect that you feel that you're contributing?
Oh, for sure. I just think, when you have a little bit of knowledge about, like, how the body works and how it moves and what muscles help you be explosive off the mound and this. And so I think there's a lot that goes into that way that definitely that can help kids out a little bit better when you know how they should be moving, what's most efficient. So,
Yeah. And you can tell when they're not fully firing and
yes.
not yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's talk about coaching in college. So you spent a little bit of time coaching in college. Um, was New Mexico your first stop out of school?
Yeah, so it's
Y-
funny. I was gonna be a grad assistant at ASU under Coach Ford, and then I was with DJ in Louisville when he was playing in AAA. He was playing AAA with the Reds, and I get a call at the gas station, and they're like, "Do you want to come coach softball at UNM?" And that's actually DJ's alma mater.
Yeah.
So
Where
he
did
was
you
like,
guys meet?
"No brainer." I actually met him long time ago in college, but with
Okay.
yeah, his I knew his brother growing up, so
Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha.
But so it's just kind of full circle. He's like, it's a no brainer, take the job, and so then we both moved out there, and yeah, it was a good first stop. I got my master's while I was coaching, so
Very cool.
yeah.
Um, what did you learn on that side of the game? Because obviously this was before you were coaching with Red Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
What did you learn on that side of the game at that level?
Ooh, I mean, mid majors have it a little hard. It is. It's hard. It's difficult to recruit. I can't imagine now with the NIL stuff. Like they're in a very difficult position.
Yeah.
But I would say that was probably the hardest part. Is just the travel and recruiting, and yeah, definitely the
Okay.
hardest.
When you were out recruiting, what did Bree Maha, the recruiter, look for in a recruit?
So again, I guess I would go back to like what I was, or the type of player I was. I was looking for somebody who was really passionate. Like you can't hide passion.
Right.
You can't fake it either. So I would say someone that's very passionate. Obviously, somebody that was team player. You're looking for somebody that was like being supportive of their teammates. Again, can't something you can't hide. Um, I wasn't looking for somebody that was the biggest, fastest, strongest. Because again, you could. It's not always the eye test. There's more to
Yeah.
it than just that.
You were looking for the intangibles.
Yeah.
Um, when you were coaching in college, did you guys look at metrics or did you guys look at all these rankings that are out there now?
And
Does
again, I
that
think
play a
like
factor?
we were just talking about, like you can read into the data so much. Like numbers don't lie, so it's good to have. But again, you can't measure heart, and I think that's
Mhm.
one thing that I took when I was playing is I wasn't the tallest, I wasn't the biggest. I was probably 5'6", 115 growing up. Like
Yeah.
so I got overlooked a lot by my size, that I think I went into recruiting thinking I'm not going to overlook anybody because they're small. Like, I want to see what else they
Gotcha.
have.
Did but and what about the rankings? Like, is that something you guys as a staff would? Oh my God, this kid's ranked this on that. Like, did that matter?
I mean, I would just say because they're well respected, like a lot of people have good things to say about them. Like, it does matter, but don't read too much into it, I guess, also.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Um, was there? Did you? Because here's something I've been looking at a lot lately, and I'm sure you've noticed it. But every college now is on X or Twitter, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I tell all of our younger kids, you have to create a profile. You have to post video. Do you remember? It might have been a little early then, still, but do
Hmm.
you remember? Was that an app or a platform that you, as a college coach, were keeping an eye on?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially because first year it was full time coaching, but then the next year it was the COVID year, actually. So that's kind of
Right,
all you could do was like
right.
go online and try to recruit from there. So I definitely think it's just another way to, market yourself. So I don't think there's any bad to that.
Gotcha. Was there any other specific recruiting app that you enjoyed using or were
Hmm.
liked as a college coach?
I think another one we looked at a little bit was sports recruits.
Mm-hmm.
Um, sports recruit, yeah. I mean, it's just easy to look at film that way, and
Yeah.
yeah.
What I like about sports recruits is that it and even X, right? Like it puts that into the players and the family's hands
Yes.
to do their job
Some
because
accountability.
right, and I think a lot of times people look at us, what are you doing for us?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not my job to get you recruited. I mean, I say that to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But my job is to do is to provide the opportunity and then to have communication as needed, right? And
For
so
sure.
obviously playing for us will open up opportunities, but you have to do something with it. And one of the easiest ways for a coach to tell how driven you are is are you doing those extra things to put yourself out there so that
Absolutely.
you can be seen? Um, as a college coach, are emails effective?
I would say some of them get lost.
Some of them get lost.
I
Gotcha.
remember when my sister in law was looking to transfer, I kind of told her like my perspective of like being a coach and trying to get her to a different school. I told her to put in the title transfer from the university of, and then like
Yeah.
space it a little bit so then they would have to open it. So it wasn't like the university of blank and then people are just deleting it right away. So just trying to give some like, the title is big, but I'd say a lot of times it gets lost.
Yeah, we try to put because sports recruits is kind of a some of the communication initially is through email. So
Okay.
we same thing. We tell our kids like you have to put this in your title. We want
Yes.
exactly like this. But the good thing about sports recruits is like the coaches don't need an email from you to get in. They
Mm-hmm.
just need to be interested in you or your team, and they can go kind
Right.
of poke around, as you know.
Right.
Um, as a college coach, what are your thoughts on summer recruiting? Is it too hectic? Is it too big?
You said as a college or high school?
As a
What?
college coach,
Okay. I mean, I liked it. I just think those big three tournaments. Obviously, Sparkler, PGF, the Alliance now. Alliance wasn't around when I was playing, so I just think it's just
right?
another avenue, another big tournament. So I don't think it's too hectic. But I also was only in it for a year and a half. It was short term because I did want a family. So
Yeah,
that's the other hard part. I see a lot of college coaches, having to juggle is, they go all year, fall through spring. So having some downtime for their family, I totally get it.
yeah.
It's hard. It's a hard balance.
What was your favorite event to attend as a coach or a player?
Ooh. Player was the Women's College World Series, but
Awesome. Yep, of
yeah,
course.
that was the coolest. I mean, experience senior year being able to go do that. So, but yeah.
Got him there. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, what is your best sports memory? And you may have just said it. Like that's your best sports memory. Tell me like what that was like. Um, obviously, family. Did anyone go? Like, what was that whole experience?
I mean, that's just what you dream of. Like, again, 7, 8 years old, and now it's more on broadcasted than it's ever been. So I just think it's so awesome for little girls to like see that growing up and see that like it's possible that you can go there, be there, do all those things. And I did that little letter to myself, or
Mm-hmm.
yeah, letter to softball, and it's so true. It's just 16 years of playing the game. It's just to get there for that one moment, like those are things I'm going to remember for the rest of my life.
Yeah. You know, you set out to do it, and you went the whole way, and now you're back coaching, um, giving back that way. I know. How old is Josie now?
She's 2.
2. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy, like seeing all of you kids that played for played for me at some point, or it's crazy seeing all you guys having kids now, and
Yeah.
I'm excited about it because I'm sure at least especially with your family dynamic, like there might be some talent in that kid, right? Both of them. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Thanks.
Obviously, that we're always looking for 8U coaches. So make sure you
Perfect.
keep that in mind. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up that you would love to tell that young player that's either starting out or just kind of entering that recruiting phase,
Hmm.
or tell that young Bree Maha that was a catcher 5 minutes ago and then had to walk to the circle? Like, is there
uh,
anything that you could give them?
I would just say, work ethic goes a long way. It's don't let that be what's the word I'm trying to say? Not a deterrent, but like when things get hard, like your work ethic will never fail you. So just make sure that
Right.
you're being persistent in what you do. Be consistent, because you can always go back and rely on that. That your preparation is, you know, got you to where you need to be. So it might sound cliche, but yeah,
No, it's certainly true. I have a friend that always says about hitting or pitching or anything. He always says, be a master of the fundamentals because
yeah, for
those
sure,
principles will never change.
for sure.
And so, no, that's great. Bree, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to jump on. I think this was awesome. We're an hour and 3 minutes in, and it felt like it flew by. I want to wish you the best going forward with Red Mountain. Please tell DJ thank you for allowing you, or taking the responsibility of the kids for a
Yeah,
little bit so you could jump
thanks.
on. Tell him I said good luck, and make sure you
Yeah,
say hello to his brother and good luck to his brother
thanks.
for me. Um, and so with that, I want to say thank you to all who watched. Thank you for listening. We will continue to elevate the sport and get caught up with those who are influential in the fast pitch community, and hopefully we can help you navigate your softball journey. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Um, Caught up with Randy K or at Coach KAZ. You can also follow us on X and on Instagram using the same handles at Coach KAZ. Thanks again. Talk soon. Thank you, Bree.
Thank you.